Hello and welcome back. Um, well, today's update is we're just going to take a quick look at the tank and we're going to talk about are discus hard to keep? And I don't think they are. Um, I researched before I jumped into it, really didn't know anything yet, regardless of it all. Um, and I just went for it. And I broke all the rules. I mean, literally broke all the rules. Um, I did not quarantine a single fish in this tank. Not a single one. I bought them all from various pet shops. They all came from various sources. Um, Everything from the neons to the discus to the angels. Didn't quarantine a single goddamn fish. Now, did I have some losses? Yeah, a couple fish died. A couple fish died. My first batch of fish, my first batch of discus, were like dime-sized fry, month-old fry. Um, Literally only got 3 of those left. I had 8 of them total. I just, when I brought them home, 2 of them had bloat. I didn't know what bloat was. The guy I bought them from bagged them with bloat. So like I literally my initial fish, they had an illness. It may have been stress related, because they're young and I moved them. But I remember seeing one of them look puffy. I just thought his belly was full, and then I learned later on it was bloat. So I ended up losing like, you know, 5 of those 8 initial dime-sized discus, and 3 of the browns that I have right now are from that initial batch. Secondly, I lost um, zombie fish, or it was called a red sun discus. He just wouldn't eat properly. He grazed on algae and algae alone, which wasn't enough to sustain him. He was stunted when I bought him. Just another mistake. I didn't know how to identify a stunted fish, so I will never do that again. Aside from those losses, I've lost nothing else. Um, I think a rainbow fish, or yeah, I had a female rainbow fish, and she didn't make it. She just she just died. I don't know why. She just died. So, um, aside from that, everybody else is doing wonderfully. I haven't. The last fish I bought was the angelfish. It's been a couple weeks. Um, from a quarantine perspective, time period, most people will quarantine for around 2 weeks. Other people will quarantine for a month. Even after that period of time, you could still have problems. So, like, I just didn't bother doing it. I just watched my fish. I spent the last couple months building up my community tank. I couldn't buy all my fish at once. I had to add fish to the tank slowly because it was cycling, and so on and so on. I would still be quarantining fish right now if I had. I didn't have enough tanks to quarantine them all separately. I mean, it was just I couldn't do it. So I didn't think it was right. Putting discus in a growing discus in a small quarantine tank isn't good either. So I built up my population. Everything was fine. And then after I got to where I wanted to be, I just did a precautionary paracleanse. Cleanse. Probably didn't even need to do it, but I did it just to ensure their health, make sure nothing was developing that I couldn't see, because parasites can be like that. They can be festering for months and you won't know they're there. So everybody poops, normal brown poops, and everybody eats aggressively. Nobody hides. Everybody's having a good time. So that's where we're at. And I understand the concept of quarantining, but it's also a level of paranoia that I don't know. I think it just could be detrimental if you're too worried about it all the time. It could be detrimental. Now, if anything, instead of doing a 2 week quarantine or a 1 month quarantine, and just pop them in a 10-gallon tank if you're really worried about the fish, hit them up with a 1 packet Paracleanse, leave him there for 2 days, watch that 2 days. If he's got internal parasites, you're going to see the white poop at that time. You know, if it's got flukes, they should get wiped off at that time. And you should really know within a few days of applying a Paracleanse if you have a sick fish. And if you do, then you keep treating the fish until the symptoms are gone. Letting a fish soak in a tank for 2 months and waiting for something to happen, or a month or 2 weeks or whatever your time period is, that's just, I don't think, in the case of discus, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors. I don't think so at all. I would, if you feel you need to quarantine a fish, then you treat that fish. You just treat them, and put them through the full 5-day treatment cycle, so that it's not 2 weeks, it's not a month. You know your fish is relatively clean, and he should be good after that. And of course, every day you should be inspecting your fish for problems, every single day. And until you've done a daily inspection for a period of longer than 2 weeks to a month and not seen anything, you should inspect to ensure that you don't develop a problem. And if you see one, isolate that fish immediately and treat it. Of course, I don't even think I needed to treat the tank. I just did. I just did because I wanted to protect my investment, and it may not have even been necessary. So there's a lot of hype out there. Quarantining is probably a good idea, I guess, but is it necessary? There are probably 60 fish in this tank. 60 opportunities for infection. Discus are highly, vulnerable to such infections. I would definitely be seeing sick fish right now if I had a problem. I'm not seeing sick fish. He's just chilling. He's not sick. He just had a belly full of bloodworms and he's digesting. He's fine. And everybody else is just doing what they need to do. So it's early morning. And that's my update for today. I'm not telling you not to quarantine. I'm just saying if you're good at picking your fish, you know how to watch the pet store you're at for problems. You inspect the entire rack you're buying from and you look for problem fish. You make sure everybody looks healthy before you grab anything. If a fish in a tank below the tank that you're picking is sick, just don't touch anything in that row, in that upright rack. They're normally all connected together from top to bottom. So if you have a row of fish, a rack of tanks, and you see sick fish in one of those, just don't buy those fish. And I even made a couple of mistakes. I bought a skinny discus and I bought a stunted discus. They were both vulnerable to illness. That was a huge mistake, and I'm still okay. So there's a lot of hype out there in this industry. The illnesses that they're worried about when they're quarantining, they can occur anyway. You can bring them in. You can bring them in with your frozen fish foods. You can bring them in with your plants. An insect from your environment could land in your tank and bring parasites. Like, they could come from literally out of thin air almost in that regard. So honestly, you just keep an eye on your fish. Treat them if you see a problem. Keep your tank clean, and you'll be fine. Run UV. That is something I was doing throughout this process. I was running UV. That's going to kill germs in your water. Anyhow, have a great day, and I wish you all the best.